Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here with another review for you. This time talking episode 19 of Supergirl Myriad. And I kind of have some mixed feelings about this episode. I mean, it does a really great job of raising the stakes and moving us towards the season finale's endgame. But there's just parts of the execution of the story that don't really work so much for me. And the whole thing with Superman is kind of one of the ones that I have the biggest mixed feelings about. Now, at the end of the day, this is Supergirl's show, and of course, she needs to be the one to sort out the problem. You don't want Superman to become Deus Ex Machina who swoops in and saves the day because, well, that would just be disservice to Supergirl as a character. But here, okay, it looks like, okay, Superman's going to come in, they're going to team up and take down the bad guys, and, well, of course, we can't really have that because, again, it's Supergirl's show. She needs to be the one that sorts out the problem and it needs to be the cast of characters assembled around her that helps her to do it. So I do like what they do. Like, okay, Superman's here, and then bam, Superman falls under the mind control too. And of course, we're like, well, what the hell? And then Maxwell Lord steps in and kind of offers the explanation of like, well, he grew up here on Earth, that's affected his brain enough so that he's more like a human, and then he's subject to it. Now, I'm not really any sort of expert on neurology, but I do think that studies have shown that our experiences growing up, like things like trauma or things like that, or and of course positive things as well, can have a physical and serious effects on our brain development. So, yeah, okay, um, I can buy into this explanation. It does make at least some sense. Now, granted, it still doesn't take away from the fact that they totally did this just so that to get Superman out of the way so that he can't help Kara. And again, it's Supergirl's show. She needs to be the one that solves the problem. It just, I can't say that it doesn't leave a little bit of a bitter taste in my mouth that we had to kind of do it like this. I mean, it just sort of feels like Superman kind of got undercut. But then again, this isn't his show. This isn't his story. He's, a little thing off to the side that we occasionally has a small impact on the story. Yeah, at the end of the day, this has to be about Kara, so I get that. It's just, I kind of wish that there had been some other way that this had been executed that, didn't make Superman seem like such a putz. I mean, Non even comes in here and says, the son of Jor-El has bowed before me. It's like, I kind of would have liked to have seen that. That would have been pretty badass. But again, they're never really going to do anything, or at least the producers have said at this time, they're not really going to do anything to really sort of have like an actor play Superman. This way, things stay focused on Kara. And again, I get that, but uh, Dawn is controlling Superman. What is he having him do? For example, I mean, this sort of seems like a really, really big deal. I mean, you're mind controlling Superman, and then it's just not really mentioned. I mean, what is he doing? Is he having Superman sit at a computer and type? Seriously? Okay, well, let's just kind of get into some of the other things. So let's kind of deal with the supporting characters and sort of work our way around. Definitely did like the stuff with Alex, her mom, and John. Again, sort of really sort of setting things up for future stuff involving Dean Cain's character, their father. And it was really great watching her mom sort of geek out about Martian Manhunter's physiology and asking all these questions like, hey, how do your internal organs work and all of this other stuff. Now, well, that just might seem like, Alex's mom geeking out being a nerdy scientist. But later on, Indigo impales the Martian Manhunter, and he looks like he dies. But what we're forgetting is John is a shapeshifter. So his internal organs are not in fixed places. I mean, there was actually a story, I believe it was Justice League versus Predator. Like the actual Predators from the movie, Aliens versus Predators and all that. There was one where those things basically gained superpower. Predators gave themselves superpowers and went to try and fight the Justice League, and a Predator cut Martian Manhunter's head off. And it didn't kill him because he's a shapeshifter. Like there's a scene where like John's face appears in his chest because, chopping off part of his body. Yeah, I mean, his body doesn't work like that. So stabbing Martian Manhunter through the chest is almost certainly not going to kill him because, again, his internal organs don't work that way, which you think Indigo would realize, but, okay, whatever. Now, never mind that going back into the city was a monstrously stupid plan, and I can't believe John went along with this because, seriously, Alex, how did it not occur to you that John is going to have to spend a considerable amount of his mental resources protecting you from mind control? And that, if it's found out that you're being controlled by Myriad, there is no way Non is not going to use you against you. Um, plus also having the two of you out there where you can actually in some way help probably would have been kind of an asset. Now, granted, as fugitives, there's not really a huge amount Alex can do in an official capacity. She can't go and say help out General Lane, but still, there just kind of feels like there had to be something more they could do. Now, that's Alex. Having John actually come back into the city, that would have made sense. Kind of keep Alex off to the side working on some sort of a contingency plan in case things don't work out. That would have been the smart thing to do. But again, having her fall under the mind control so that she could be sent to fight Kara in the power armor did anyone else think that kind of looked like the armor from Mass Effect? I mean, yes, okay, cool. I mean, a kryptonite armor fighting your sister, I gotta admit, that's pretty sadistic and very in keeping with the spirit of comics. So, the show, well played on that one, show. Well played. Uh, some of the other stuff, though, like the things with Cat Grant and Max Lord. So, apparently it was extremely fortunate for Cat Grant that she just happened to be wearing the correct earrings that day to spare herself from the mind control. And also kind of lucky for Maxwell Lord that he, at the precise moment, happened to have on his stupid little microphone thing on his head. I mean, it looks like some really stupid version of a Bluetooth. So, yeah. And then there's the idea that Cat wandered around all this time, not noticing that everybody was, being mind controlled. Which, while funny and not exactly out of character for Cat, doesn't really speak well for her because she's also supposed to be this extremely intelligent, extremely observant, reporter lady. And having her also display that level of obliviousness, again, in keeping with Cat's character, but it's just like, seriously. I mean, and it's all just, again, just so the Cat can come in and give Supergirl the, rousing speech about blah, 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 about like, hey, you helped me to become a better person. I mean, I still treat my employees rotten a lot of the time, but, I kind of have a relationship with my son, and I'm occasionally nicer to people than I was before, so yay me. Like, seriously. Now, I do kind of like that what they do with Maxwell Lord here. He doesn't want to do this plan that's going to kill like 300,000 people, but he doesn't really see any other choice. This is not something he is the least bit happy about, but under the circumstances, it does seem the pragmatic choice. He's not doing this out of any sense of maliciousness, not doing this out of any hate. He is seriously upset that he's going to have to do something that's going to cost so many people their lives, but there really does not seem to be any other viable option on the table. And, I wish they kind of been a little bit more clear whether or not the kryptonite radiation was going to hurt people, but again, killing all those people and Superman and Supergirl have to find can't visit National City anytime soon? Yeah. At the end of the day, for saving these 7 billion people, that is kind of a small price to pay. But I do like how once somebody gives him another option, he's like, okay, I'll at least hear you out. So, again, Max is not evil. He's really just kind of misguided. And his, speech about, how after what happened with my parents, I promised myself if I could save somebody, I would, and I wouldn't wait for their permission. I mean, he does raise a very interesting point. I mean, it's not like Superman or Supergirl's like, hey, can I help you? I mean, like, I've had Red Cross training, right? I've had it a couple of times for various reasons. And one of the things you're supposed to do is if you're trying to help somebody, you say, like, hey, I've got first aid training. I want to help you. Is that okay? You're supposed to try and secure a person's permission before you do anything. You know, basically save your butt from lawsuits, really, but and other reasons. But they don't really do that. Then again, if somebody is fallen off a boat and is drowning in the middle of the ocean, you don't really go over there and say like, "Hey, is it okay with you if I try and save you?" So, person in obvious distress, helping them out is sort of, the freedom to help them out is sort of implied. But it is something to think about. You know, if you can save somebody, do you really need their permission? But, again, where's the line? There's, somebody is about to drown versus their life is just a way that, in a situation that you think could be better. I mean, that's kind of the whole thing with what Non is saying. It's like, hey, I'm going to save the human race, but I'm going to have to take away their. I'm going to have to put them under mind control to do it. So again, it's that kind of balance. Like, Non is obviously taking it too far. Maxwell Lord has taken it too far before, but there's still some hope for Max. Non's No, he's deliberately going out of his way to make Kara miserable and cause her pain, even though it's repeatedly pointed out to him that this is not what Astra would have wanted. But, he's just too blinded by grief to really see that, or to see that Indigo is playing him. Now, what she's doing is really, to me, very interesting. She's really doing the whole Lady Macbeth thing. But look at what she says. Like, look at what she says about how, the control of the galaxy and, having all these people under your control. And what they're doing here is not as sort of tapping human creativity and resourcefulness like a resource. And it's actually a little bit of a and seeing Indigo really get into this is actually a little bit of a twist on kind of one of the classic things that Brainiac does. And Brainiac's thing is, I'm going to absorb all the knowledge of a culture, of a civilization, and then I'm going to destroy it so that nobody else can have it. You can kind of see Indigo maybe going down that road. It's like, hey, I mean, she's totally setting Non up to stab him in the back. No doubt about that in my mind. But the idea of her, like, I'm going to have all this creativity and, ingenuity, and it's going to be under my control. Again, it's sort of an interesting little twist on what Brainiac does. And remember, in the comics, Indigo is meant to be a version of Brainiac. She's Brainiac 8. So I kind of like the idea of Indigo kind of being a reoccurring character, Supergirl's own personal version of Brainiac, but who has a slightly different agenda than regular Brainiac. I think that's very cool. It's definitely nice to have Laura Vandervoort on the show because she's clearly having a blast playing a bad guy, and Indigo is pretty cool. I mean, again, I liked the character in the comics. I liked her. I was one of those people that was really disappointed when it was revealed that she was a bad guy, because her heroic persona was very likable. But I can appreciate a good plot twist. Let me see what else. Points to General Lane for not being a dick in this situation. I mean, he knows that there's nothing that he can really do in this situation, and that Supergirl does have the interests of the people of the city at heart. His daughter being one of the people that's being controlled also, and that Supergirl is indeed trying to save her along with everybody else in the city, probably plays a little bit of a part in it. One other thing that I was disappointed in was the way they used Maxima in this episode. Now, I'd said in previous reviews that I thought Maxima would be a really great character to bring on the show. At the time, I didn't know that that was already planned. And even though we only see her briefly, she's very in keeping with how Maxima is in some interpretations in the comics. Maxima is one of those characters that kind of has balance between being a hero and being a villain. And while she's a cool character, I've never really liked Superman refused to marry me as a motivation for her being evil. It just seemed like so ridiculously petty. It's like, come on, lady, you got rejected by a guy? That's your supervillain origin? Find something else. Find somebody else. Excuse me. And again, I suppose maybe I just Maximus being somebody who I've always had a little bit of an extra fondness for, seeing her go down so easily, kind of had been hoping for more. But again, I have a feeling that Maximus, again, being sort of set up as somebody that they can add to Supergirl's rogues gallery, and that we'll see her turn up again in an episode that's kind of more focused on her in the future. I mean, it's already given her a motivation. It's like, oh, you're Superman's cousin? Well, he'll really be upset if I kill you. Okay, well, hopefully, if they bring back someone back in the future, they'll take the time to flesh her out a little bit more. Uh, let's see. Oh, and I definitely did like the scene where Non has Jimmy, Win, and some random lady jump off the building, and of course Kara can only save two of them. Although why she couldn't have sort of just like tossed Jimmy and Win onto like a balcony somewhere. I don't know. Maybe they only have the balcony up on the top floor where Kara works or something. But still, I mean that's one of those classic hero dilemmas. On the other hand, it's some random person we've never met before and thus don't really care about. If they'd taken to sort of time to sort of flesh someone else out in that office and then kill them off, then we'd have a reason to care. I mean, Supergirl is upset briefly, and then a whole bunch of other stuff happens, and we more or less kind of forget about that character, who is incidentally named Kelly. And you kind of have the feeling that this is probably not going to be brought up again anytime soon. Okay, so that's all I have for you guys this time around. As always, please comment, rate, subscribe, and of course you can follow me on Twitter at Hoosier Jedi. Until next time, take care and have a good one.